an industry like the arts and the creatives within the country. Yeah. What can be the advice? What should be done, and how should it be rolled out?
Yeah, and that's why in my preamble I called it a service.
A service.
I have been in the industry for more than 4 decades and traveled to 69 different countries.
Wow.
And I have served seriously in some of the leading markets.
Yeah.
You know, I lived in the United States for more than 15 years. I started off in the UK. And you know, doing music and did a little bit of film when it came to the US. Now, we can borrow a leaf from some of these markets, and that's why, you know, we've kind of not been very far, you know, from the powers that be, from government, from associations, from you know, the likes of Ragadi running, you know, these big organizations that are taking everyone. We've said we're going to stay close, we're going to work with them, and sometimes when necessary, we've had to bang the table. And Ragadi knows that. There's been a little bit of clogging.
I hope he appreciates it too.
Oh, he does.
Knowing is one thing.
Me and him can bang the table from here, and then we go and he's like, yeah, check and and he will take the message. Now, like I was saying, there's been a little bit of clogging in the pipelines.
Okay.
You know, but us being around and contributing, you know, there's been a reckoning. Not only with the private sector, like he was saying, to appreciate that we actually do contribute to the GDP of this country, but even to government. And that is why you're seeing a difference. You're seeing a jump from 4 billion, 18 to 69, and very soon you will see 400 billion, and you'll even see a trillion. Why? Because the appreciation. And every time you gentlemen, you know, in the media give us a platform to come out and amplify, you know, we clarify, it comes out. He talked about the GDP. 2017, our contribution was 3%. GDP was 30 billion. What is that? $800 million. It was bigger than coffee. So you need to appreciate
that is right,
that we're onto something here. And that is without any support. That is us being informal. Now, when we formalize, it means it can come to 10%. It can come to 15%. We've seen this happen in Nigeria. When you consider 5 of the biggest contributors to that big economy, the creative arts is in the 5.
That is right.
When you consider agriculture, you know, fintech, the finance industry, oil and gas, creative arts. That same story is happening in Uganda today.
Wow, that's something that, of course, that is very inspirational. So let's identify which are the low-hanging fruits when it comes to improving, first and foremost, how the actors within the industry make the money in order to contribute to revenue, to grow GDP. What are the low-hanging fruits for the various actors within the industry? Something that we can quickly hold on as we chase the Nigerians and maybe the South Africans.
And let me tell you, before you saw the Nigerians, there was Uganda.
There was Uganda, yeah.
I'll tell you, there's no big artist that has come out of Nigeria and they've not started with Uganda. If you talk all the big names,
they've been here.
We have a culture. We have a culture here. And all the names that you see, Wizkid, Burna Boy, they've all been to Uganda. And when they were in Uganda, they were not as big as they are. Uganda has an edutainment system whereby even if you don't like to be entertained, you will. You get into the system. You can see how many shows are done at Serena every month. You can see how many shows are done at the cricket oval. So that already shows. You can see how many people are doing movies. The other time, at the film festival, and you believe like it was like Grammy. So what I would like to say is, the most important thing is market.
Market, yeah.
There was Isaac usually calls it the disruptive innovation, where there's a lot of digital migration. People move from analog to digital. Now, the markets are on digital. And if anyone is still analog, is out of the business. So remember where we came from. We started music when we were using the tape, the vinyl, the tape, the cassette. We went to the VCD, went to the DVD, We went to the flash, the external, now we're in AirPlay. People streaming and everything. Yeah. People no longer want to take anything home. They would like to just watch it, pay for data and watch it and that's it. So at the end of the day, if you left out the infrastructure that allows the people to work, if it is not up to the tune, if it is not like on the global circuit, you can never work. So today, the infrastructure, the DSPs, the platforms that sell people's music are not based in Uganda. If you look at the Deezer, you look at all these platforms where people are streaming, they're not Ugandan. So we need infrastructure, digital infrastructure that will help us to have these DSPs. So many people have tried to build these systems, but the systems break down because when you don't push in money, you cannot get the right markets. Next, we need to sensitize our people. So many people have platforms that are offshore. You find an artist who has a YouTube channel that was set up in UK. So if it is set up in the UK, then the money must go to the UK. So by the time you have a third party in your business, you are out of business. So at the end of the day, what are we thinking? We're thinking is if we have a good infrastructure, we have clinics that help people to be oriented, to know exactly what they have to do on these platforms. These are all platforms that have made the Banner Boys rich. Yeah. We have the problem of the copyright. People keep talking, amend the copyright, and then they keep saying, oh, this year it's done, next year it's done. Every time you keep lagging onto that, that's the market. That's the marketplace. The last time we had our copyright work, they amended it in 2006, where the computer was not so popular. So, in 2006, the laws would not cover the problem that is the bottlenecks that we're seeing right now. But today, people can watch your content, people can watch a full movie on their phone without any payment. So where will the film survive if everything is given out for free? We have the telecos. We're talking about the CRBTs, those the ringback tones. And no one knows about it. The artists are not educated about it. We need people to understand what it means to have content, sell content, and earn out of it.
And exactly where to sell that content.
Yes.
And again, I'll return to you on that issue because I know how it works elsewhere outside Uganda. The ability to sell content that can be able to shape consumption patterns. And you must know the consumption patterns, especially consumers, how they want the music, when they consume it, so that you can meet them at that point. How should the average Ugandan creative go about navigating that very complex system?
Let's appreciate the Trinity. I call it the Trinity. He talked about, you have the infrastructure.
That's right.
You have the hardware, then you have the software. The three have to go hand in hand. And in most part, where the software and the government and private sector's responsibilities are, set up the infrastructures and the hardware and allow us to bring the completion so that that Trinity is complete. We are seeing this happen in other markets. We're seeing this happen in our, with our neighbors, where the people were asking, what are all these hotels for? We are poor people. Why do you have 6 of the name brands? What are they for? And then you had all these, the roads and all these things done. But today, people are starting to appreciate when that country attracts all the big conferences, and when the conferences come, the entertainment comes to offer its services. So there's a trickle down.
And the tourism
if $1 billion is made, there's a trickle down that comes down to the artists. So let's appreciate. And I like what the government is, I don't want to say start doing, because they've been intentional. Some of the things we've not seen. But some of the things that we're going to see that are going to blow us away, look out. You're going to see there's a big expo coming up, e-mobility expo. Uganda is already positioning. When you study all the other development countries, they are driven by so many things, but one of the biggest factors is the automotive industry. Now, Kira Motors is doing things, and there's people who think Kira Motors have a warehouse. No, take a trip and go to Jinja and see for yourself. Why? very soon, we're going to have electric motorbikes, we're going to have electric buses, we're going to have electric cars. But once that is done, somebody else has to come, when that, that's the software, the infrastructure has to be in place. These buses can go to Kabari, but they won't come back. Why? Because there is no charging stations. So somebody has to start thinking that the private sector or government should start thinking, can we have the likes of Total, Shell that charge so that there's a charging, along the way. But that has come to fruition because government was intentional. The same thing happens with the creative arts, and you will see this thing is going. I mean, when you look at the numbers, even in America, the creative arts are going toe to toe with defense.
That is right.
It's unheard of. It's unheard of, but that is what is happening.
That is right.
And we're going to see that happen in Uganda. It has already started to happen. And my biggest application is film. Look out for film.
Great. We'll be going into film very shortly, but allow me to ensure that we capture this context, especially for the indigenous and the foundational level. 25 years ago, I used to hear of national competitions, music, arts, and these other things.
Yes.
I no longer hear that a lot. I don't know whether it's the information that is not reaching me or it's not happening at all. The reason I'm asking this is that as we embrace technology, there is a tendency for us to stampede ourselves. That people who do not understand the patterns, especially when it comes to how do we put content out there, what content are we putting there, which content is most acceptable, what sells to what audiences. We do not have the foundation of creating that content itself. So much so that somebody thinks, if I wake up, hold my phone, and come to my veranda and get a friend or two, we rant about something, that is content. It should be more structured than that. Do we still have that arrangement, and can this kind of money, the 66 billion, help revive a tradition of competition, for example, in schools, so that this spirit to want to be superstar is created once again?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. If the kids did not see Isaac Ritchie perform with Limitex, if the kids did not see Raga D perform with the homies to make Bam Sakata, they will not feel that an artist can make money. You see, everything works with the mindset. If you see me driving a Mercedes and it is out of my sweat as a musician, become a better musician. Now, when you see that you have superstars who die in hospital without money, then you cannot become a musician. So,
talk about
the only thing that we need to do is let us look at the markets. Let us look at the selling place. You cannot have a very, very big farm without the harvesting ideas. So today, I'm in charge of the Federation of the Movie Industry. But ask yourself a question: how many cinemas are active? So that's infrastructure. So if I act my movie, and the only way to spread my movie to everyone is to say, box office, we are going to sell our movie, and we advertise for our movie everywhere in Uganda. So everywhere in Uganda, how would they see that this movie is big? It's on at every cinema. It is full. Now, every cinema in Uganda became a church. No, the way it is.
Right, yeah. Say it as it is.
If I'm to improve,
we know who you are talking about.
Let us think about the marketplace of the film.
Great.
If I make my movie, I will not take it to TikTok. I have to. If you take your movie at YouTube, you'll get peanuts for it.
Peanuts.
Kakati, you sell your movie in a cinema. In America, they advertise, they make a trailer for a movie for more than 5 months. And what happens is that movie brings out all the money, because the day the movie is out, Exterminator 2026, everyone everyone will spare some money for that movie. And the reason why they make these big budgets for these movies is they advertise for them, and they know they have the marketplace for them. Now, for if we're talking about infrastructure, if we have the best studios, and we have the best places where people are going to showcase what they're doing. Imagine we had an arena where we are going to showcase what we have as bands, what we have as dancers. It is very simple for everyone to know that we have a place where we're going to meet Isaac, launch his super album, and we make money. But now, if that is not there, that can't work, because if you don't have a shop, there's no reason why you hang with your goods.
It's the Kickstarter, and we are talking the creative and arts industry in light of the latest allocation in as far as the budget is concerned. 66 billion Uganda shillings. The breakdown on exactly how this money is going to trickle down to all those that need it is something that needs to be well released in terms of the managers at the associations, the fora, and all these blocks that form pockets of leadership. But in studio, I have with me Isaac Krushi from the Uganda Musicians Association. He's also a legend, and those of you that were old enough, Limitex must have been something that you remember, no doubt. He will talk to us about what is happening, as far as some of that is concerned. We also have with us Daniel Kaziwe, the Bam Sakata man. He's from the National Cultural Forum, and the reason I say that is, again, around 25 years ago, Bam Sakata was the ish.
37 years.
37?
Yes.
Wait a minute.
You're getting older.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Talking about Obundo Kugenda.
Actually, which reminds me, Malibongwe is also 37 years old.
37. This was 96.
No. We wrote the song in the 80s, 87, and then
for us we found it had already gained traction. Interesting there. But nonetheless, I respect the fact that all that time and the fact that we still hold on to that memory shows that the quality of what you're releasing at that time was really good. And I think the generation today should be able to replicate that. Now, before we went into the break, Mr. Kaziwe was speaking about something I need you to also submit on, and then we go into film. And even during the break, you were very, very concerned about the fact that the competing initiatives and the need for spaces is also affecting a lot on what can happen. Just bring it out for us.
When Ragadi talks about infrastructure, let's break it down. Infrastructure is the spaces. The spaces which we know call it ebintu. And we just talked about it when we were offline. We said, you know what? When you come to Uganda and say indoor arena, if you want to do a nice executive indoor, do you know we only have one place, and that is Serena? That can justify the numbers. Serena tuza abantu lukumi, just
only 1,000 people.
Other than that,
this
the
Victoria
other places,
Hall.
yes, Victoria
1,000 people.
And that's why you see 3, 4, because you guys work here.
I do.
You see 4, 5 events every week. Happening here. Why? Because it's the only place you can go and have an indoor, people dress up and it's nice and exclusive, executive. All the other places have spaces they offer, but there's a lot of mediocrity. Now, the government and private sector, and me, I'm now saying government because private sector is sleeping on this. We've spoken and engaged so many people. Do you know how much money you can make? Do you know, somebody should come and audit how much money Serena is making. For you to pull off an event, a decent event,
a decent one,
you don't spend under $10,000. That's on a day. You don't make that kind of money in the arcades. So we are calling to the private sector. If it doesn't, government should wake up. Now, if you're giving us money, to start sharpening the software, create the path wawe tunaita. Nigerians have sorted that out. I hosted a group of filmmakers who came and they went out to see what's happening. And they went to the theaters that we have,
That's right.
which are a few, 3, 4, 5, you know. But when they went there, they realized and found that 99% of the content shown there is foreign. In Nigeria, almost the numbers are flipped. Almost 85% of the content shown in their movies, but the private sector got together and they set up, they have films, film theaters, you know, cinemas, they have across the country. But we need those things. When we talk about the Trinity I mentioned, infrastructure, hardware, and software, those three work hand in hand. So somebody better work, you know, look for us. Tukulage. You know, kwate chinto zimbe theater. No, you know, we need something conservative.
That is right.
If we got a nice indoor seating arrangement, 5,000 people, you know, even 3,000 people. There's a new one in Munyonyo.
A convention center.
But the restrictions on that thing.
That is for suited guys.
Now you see, Bogama to Boya Galogena Mugulu Yambala White, Abatalina suit Tebajagenda. So, even at Serena, if you don't have enough money, you'll not get the space. So at the end of the day, we want something that allows everyone to work. And people, but now Uganda, they know how to enjoy themselves. They're ready to support everyone. But where do they go? How do they go there? So that's infrastructure is most important.
That's
right.
That's the marketplace.
Okay.
Kalinga Katungulu, this is like an onion. You peel one layer, another layer, another layer. This is how big, this is how important we are. And there was days when they used to say, creative arts make a lot of noise. But now, the science is out there that can allow you to audit what we're talking about. You know, you audit your biggest taxpayers. Two of them.
All the biggest
where do they make their money?
Payers, they make the money from the
and
content.
The breweries. Audit them.
Breweries can never sell.
Our contribution is what is causing them to be the #1 taxpayer.
There you have it.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, there is something that is called consensus. In every setting, be it an association, be it a community, be it a government, there are many competing interests. And usually that leads to a lack of focus on what to do that can change so many other things within the ecosystem. When we look at the numbers alone, especially with regard to the budget, 66 billion Uganda shillings, can't the stakeholders sit in one boardroom and decide that if the critical areas include building amphitheaters, or these spaces to allow for much of what you want to be done, and you agree that this can create the kind of revenues that we are looking for, create the employment, improve the spaces for creativity to happen, let's embark on that. 66 billion Uganda shillings. I'm not a money guy. I might have a little bit of trouble understanding what this can do, but if you want what you've said,
yes,
before the guy out there who has the money and is liquid comes on board, what is the possibility that this idea can be sold to your stakeholders?
Now, you see, everything works in the bottleneck of the creative sector is the 3 M's. Misunderstand, misinform, and miscommunicate.
Yeah.
Any investor who wants to put money somewhere first looks at what is happening. There's no investor who wants to do things for starters. Like, you're going to take a trillion to do a business, and I've never seen that business happen anywhere. So today, we talked about the infrastructure and the space. Imagine, there's no arcade that can make the same money that the Serena space makes. If we do something and people take references in business, they say, you know, Charlie Wali, everyone wants to benchmark with the Nigerian, which is already gone far. The Nigerian community has more than 300 million people. Uganda has 50 million people. And we think about the East Africa integration, because a singer in Uganda or a film star in Uganda can act in Rwanda. A film star in Rwanda can act in Tanzania. So the East African countries have one thing in common. If you can perform well in Rwanda, you can perform in Uganda, you can perform in Tanzania, you can perform in Kenya. So that's the market. Now, the market is there, the infrastructure is not there.
It's not there.
Now, if we have the Trinity, like he said, we already on the world market, that's a global village. We improve on what will bring investors to invest in our business. Because at the end of the day, if you look at what is happening in Tanzania, the likes of the diamonds, they are promoted and they are given money by the government, which allows now the other East African countries to promote them because they already see value in them.
Done, yeah.
We have artists that have value but are devalued because of what people see. People ask you, what show did you do? I did a show in cricket and it was a mess. So they will not like to take the mess again. So today what we need in Uganda is we need people to come up, the business community, the private sector. They need to come up and say, okay, we want to know how much money can one show make in Uganda? And it is very easy, simple mathematics. Today what we're doing, if you look at the telcos, how much money they're earning from the data, you cannot use content and you don't calculate how much data you buy as bundle. So many people are watching the movies, the films, they are listening to the music, streaming it and everything.
And they're using data.
And they're the top taxpayers. Now, for anyone who does the math, you just come and say, who is the best taxpayer? And what makes him get the taxes? So there is no bar that makes money without good music and the clients. So what happens is, when you have good music, a good DJ, a good service, you make money.
You make all the money.
So at the end of the day, there's a whole value chain that we need to think about. We need to think about what makes the money. And when we talk about what makes the money, then the kids from school will get to know that, you know what, I have a friend of mine, he only went to Swangs and they sang 2 songs, and now they're driving a Range Rover. They will become artists. I have a friend of mine, he acted only 1 movie.
And it opened doors for him.
And he built
a mansion.
Yes.
He's living the life.
That's the dream, and that's the way it works. People have to take reference. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. No doubt it opens my own eyes, and I'm only hoping that the graces of God can make me liquid. You guys have ideas. Film.
Yes.
The next thing. Big thing. So.
Film, the next big thing. I just wanted to throw something out.
Please do.
The creative industry is not peculiar. Considering everything that is happening holistically, when you look at Uganda, there's been a habit, and it is still there. In Runyankole, they call it Karyabihire. There is people out there, and the disclaimer I'm giving, Eliabazirinze is 68.
Okay.
Like you see it happening even in coffee, in almost every sector in Ministry of Works. Karyabihire babeerawo ne balinda ekiyidde nga bakiruka. Naye mu creative arts we tubasingirako tujja baleetera Alex mukulu tubakolemu firimu tubalangire. History will judge you. You know, people have eaten that money before, and there are some who are positioning to eat it. But the creatives are seeing you know, technology is allowing us to be able to capture. Right. So for our film, tubawadeka warning into no history will charge you. Quickly film, just as a I don't know how I should bundle this, but film is going to allow us, like I said, it's going to allow us to to own the narrative. Now you see, Hollywood is running out of ideas, and that is why there is a special, you know, lens that they are putting. you know, on places like Africa, because our content is so fresh. They take a very small story and they build it up and make, Mufasa, the Lion King, that whole picture of holding up the little child like this. These are things that happen culturally, but they came and took it, put it in a cartoon, animated it, and it went and made, you know, some of the biggest monies.
It's amazing.
So we needed to wake up and realize that film is one of those things that's going to allow us to own the narrative. The Ministry of Tourism, and I like what they're doing at UTB. You know, they've realized sometimes these technocrats who actually don't know the because this is showbiz.
Showbiz, yeah.
The biz is business. You know, back in the days, the Jews came and took over, and 10% was the creativity, 90% was business.
That's
what UTB has done is they've brought somebody from the private sector, Juliana Kagwa, you know, who understands business, and now she's coming, and this is going to help add a lot of value. Now, what film can do to tourism is a product placement. We're shooting a very nice feature in October, release coming out in March. Some of the things that we can do, you know, the story is about a CEO, but we can get the CEO to take the wife on a romantic trip in the film. We can write that in intentionally and go to Chobe. And you show it. Do you know what will happen is after that, people will be like, where's that place in Uganda called Chobe? And before you know it, you know, that will increase. My younger brother just shot in Thailand. They shot a film.
That is right.
At the Four Seasons for 8 months. You know, the White Lotus, season 3.
Yeah.
They shot that film there. The film came out. Do you know what has happened in Thailand? 420%. At the Four Seasons because of the film. That's what film can do. Isaac
Kruchi, thank you so much. I'm going to stick with you sometime from now so you can write a script. News anchor travels with his wife.
It's on record.
Thank you too, Daniel Kazibe, for coming by. And of course, we appreciate your perspective. Yes. It emboldens our understanding of things within the creative and arts industry. That will do it for the Kickstarter. Morning at NTV does continue. Stay with us.